3:15 in the morning. Steph Curry's phone rings, and on the other end of the line is LeBron James crying desperately. The king of basketball, who never showed weakness on the court, made a call that would change everything between them. The reason will break your heart. The icy January wind cut through the deserted streets of Akron, Ohio, while the snow accumulated on rooftops gleamed under the streetlight glow. It was 3:15 in the morning when LeBron James paced nervously through the corridors of his mansion, unable to find the peace in sleep that he so desperately needed. His hands were trembling, not from the cold that seeped through the large windows, but from the phone call he had received just 2 hours earlier. Dr. Martinez, the family doctor, had been direct. LeBron, I need you to come to the hospital. It's about your mother. Gloria James had been hospitalized for 3 days. What initially seemed like a severe flu had revealed itself to be something much more serious. The tests showed a rare cardiac condition that required immediate and specialized treatment. But it wasn't just that which kept LeBron awake, it was the conversation he had had with Gloria that afternoon. "Son," she had whispered, holding his hand with surprising strength for someone in her condition. "I never told you about the moments when I thought about giving up when you were little." LeBron remembered every word, how Gloria, at 16 years old, had considered giving her baby up for adoption, how she had spent entire nights crying in the bathroom of the small apartment they shared, questioning whether she would be capable of raising a child alone, how she had worked 3 different jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. "But do you know what made me continue?" she had asked, with tears in her eyes, "seeing you smile every morning, even when we only had cereal for breakfast for an entire week." Now standing in his luxurious living room, surrounded by trophies and memories of an extraordinary career, LeBron felt the weight of reality. All his wealth, all his fame, all his resources, and he felt completely powerless facing the possibility of losing the person who had sacrificed everything for him. The health insurance had denied coverage for the experimental treatment that doctors recommended. It's considered still too new, without sufficient guarantees, the insurance representative had explained. With a coldness that cut through LeBron's heart, the treatment itself would cost $500,000, an amount LeBron could pay without hesitation. But the real issue was time. There was only one clinic in the world performing this procedure in Switzerland, and the waiting list was 2 years long. Gloria didn't have 2 years. It was then that LeBron did something he had never done in 20 years of professional career. He picked up his phone, scrolled through contacts until he found a name that represented 2 decades of intense rivalry, and dialed on the other side of the country in his house in Atherton, California. Steph Curry was awakened by the insistent sound of his phone. Asia grumbled beside him, and Curry checked the clock. 12:15 in the morning on the West Coast. Who would call at this hour? The name on the screen surprised him. LeBron James. "Hello." Curry answered, still sleepy but already alert. "Steph," the voice on the other side was clearly broken. "Sorry for calling so late. I didn't know who else to call." Curry immediately sat up in bed. In all the years they had known each other, through epic battles in the finals, media statements, and mutual respect built over time, he had never heard LeBron like this, vulnerable human LeBron. "What's happening? Are you okay?" "It's my mother, man." LeBron's voice failed. "She's very sick, and I don't know what to do. I've never felt so lost in my life." Curry got up from bed, walking to his window that overlooked the silent valley. The full moon illuminated his property, but his attention was completely focused on the pain he heard in his rival's voice. "Tell me everything," Curry said, his voice loaded with sincerity. "I'm here." During the next 20 minutes, LeBron detailed the situation. He spoke about the diagnosis, about the limited options, about the insurance denial, but mainly, he spoke about Gloria, about what she represented, about the sacrifices she had made, about the terrifying fear of losing her. "Man, you know how my childhood was," LeBron continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "My mother was everything to me. Father, mother, best friend, coach. She had to be all these people because it was just us two." Against the world, Curry listened in silence, feeling the weight of each word, and now I discovered that during all those difficult years, she was going through moments even worse than I imagined. Steph, she told me today that there were nights when she stayed awake looking at me sleeping on the couch of our one-bedroom apartment and cried because she didn't know if she could give me food the next day. LeBron, she never complained, man. Not once, even when we had to move houses every few months, because she couldn't pay rent even when she worked from 6 a.m. until midnight just to keep the lights on. She always came home with a smile on her face and asked how my day had been. The emotion in LeBron's voice was palpable, and Curry felt his own throat tighten. And you know what kills me the most? LeBron continued. Today she told me she never regretted it, not for a second. She said that every sacrifice was worth it because seeing me achieve my dreams was the greatest victory of her life. It was then that Curry heard something that would remain with him for the rest of his life. LeBron James, the king, crying, "I can't lose her, Steph. I can't after everything she did for me. I have to find a way to save her." Curry remained silent for a moment, processing the raw vulnerability that LeBron had shared. Finally, he spoke. "LeBron, tell me more about her, about who she really is." On the other side of the line, LeBron took a deep breath, talking about Gloria with Curry. Someone who had been his fiercest adversary in recent years seemed surreal but also liberating. "Man, you have to understand." LeBron began, his voice still fragile, but gaining determination. "My mother was 16 years old when I was born. 16, Steph, the same age our daughters will be in a few years." Curry sat in his favorite armchair, the same one where he used to read stories to Riley and Ryan when they were little. The comparison hit him like a punch to the stomach. She was in her second year of high school when she discovered she was pregnant, the biological father. Well, he disappeared the moment he found out he left a 16-year-old girl pregnant and alone in Akron. LeBron paused, and Curry could hear the sound of footsteps echoing in the background. LeBron was still pacing through the house, unable to stay still. Her parents, my grandparents, they wanted her to give the baby up for adoption. "You're too young, Gloria. You have a whole life ahead of you. Don't throw everything away because of a mistake." LeBron imitated the stern voice he had probably heard Gloria recount hundreds of times. "But do you know what she said?" What Curry asked, softly. "This is not a mistake. This is my son, and I'm going to love him and take care of him even if it means giving up everything else." LeBron's voice broke again, and Curry felt his own eyes well up with tears. "She left school, Steph, an intelligent girl with dreams of going to college, maybe becoming a nurse. She threw all that away for me." "No." Curry interrupted firmly. "She didn't throw anything away. She made a courageous choice. That's what I always tell her." LeBron agreed, but man, the first years were brutal. She told me stories today that I had never heard before. LeBron began to share memories that Gloria had revealed that afternoon at the hospital, how she had worked cleaning offices from 5 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then ran home to take care of LeBron, and then worked at a restaurant from 6 o'clock at night until midnight. There was a time when I was about 4 years old that we were living in her car for 2 weeks. LeBron continued. "I didn't know because she turned everything into a big adventure. We're camping. LeBron, we're going to see the stars every night." Curry closed his eyes, imagining a young Gloria trying to protect her small son from the harsh reality of their situation. She took me to shower at the local YMCA gym, saying it was our special pool. She fed me at McDonald's every day because it was the only place she could afford, and always said it was because I had been a good boy. How did you discover the truth? Years later, when I was about 12 years old, I found some old letters of hers. Letters she had written but never sent. One was to my grandmother asking forgiveness for having disappointed the family. Another was, "It was a farewell letter, Steph." The silence on the other side of the line was heavy. She had written a letter saying goodbye to me, explaining that I would be better off without her, that I deserved a family that could give me opportunities that she would never be able to. She was planning to leave me at the door of a family she knew, a family with money, and then simply disappear. My God, LeBron. But do you know what? Made her change her mind? LeBron asked. And for the first time since the beginning of the conversation, there was a touch of lightness in his voice. I had learned to say mommy that week, she said. I woke up from a nap, saw her crying at the kitchen table, and simply stretched out my chubby little arms and said, Mommy, Mommy. With the biggest smile in the world, Curry felt tears streaming down his face. She said that in that moment, she realized that no matter how difficult it was, no matter how many jobs she had to work, or how many nights she had to stay awake, worrying she couldn't live without me. And more importantly, she wasn't going to abandon me like I had been abandoned by my father. Man Curry tried to find words, but there was nothing adequate to say, and you know what's the craziest part? LeBron continued, She never told me any of this when I was growing up. She never made me feel guilty or like I was a burden every morning. She woke up with renewed energy, with plans for our future, with dreams about what I could become. LeBron paused to drink a sip of water, and Curry took advantage to share his own thoughts. LeBron, I can't even imagine. Curry began. You know, I always knew I was lucky my father played in the NBA. We had financial stability, family support, but hearing about your mother, man, this makes me realize how extraordinary she is. She's incredible, Steph. And now when she should finally be enjoying the fruits of all those years of struggle, when she should be relaxing and knowing that her son made it, that all the sacrifices were worth it. Now she's in a hospital bed fighting for her life. The anger in LeBron's voice was palpable now, and the worst part is that I have all the resources in the world at my disposal. But I feel completely powerless. Money means nothing if I can't use it to save the most important person in my life. It was then that Curry made a decision that would change both their lives forever. LeBron, he said with determination, we're going to find a way. LeBron asked, surprised by the pronoun Curry had used. You heard me right? Curry replied without hesitation. You're not alone in this. On the other side of the line. LeBron stopped pacing in 20 years of career through all the epic battles he had fought against Curry. He never would have expected to hear these words. Not like this. Not in this situation. Steph, I can't ask this of you, man. You have your own family, your own life. You're not asking. Curry interrupted him. I'm offering him before you say anything about money. This isn't about money. You said the clinic in Switzerland has a 2-year waiting list, right? Right? LeBron confirmed, his voice loaded with renewed despair. Then we're going to need much more than money. We're going to need connections, influence, and maybe a small miracle. Curry was already moving through the house, turning on lights and grabbing his laptop. Give me all the details you have about this clinic name, location, who are the responsible doctors. Everything. During the next few minutes, LeBron provided all the information he had. The Cinev Clinic, located in the Swiss Alps, specialized in experimental cardiac procedures. Dr. Elizabeth Hoffman, the cardiologist pioneer in the treatment that Gloria needed, waiting list that included patients from around the world, many of whom were members of European royalty and billionaires. Okay, Curry said, his fingers already typing rapidly. I'm going to start doing some research, but LeBron, I need you to help me with something. Anything. I need you to stop thinking about this as a battle. You have to win alone. Your mother raised a champion man, and champions know when to ask for help. While Curry researched, LeBron finally sat on his couch, feeling a strange relief for having someone beside him in this fight. I found something, Curry announced after a few minutes. Dr. Hoffman gave a lecture at the Sinti Medical Conference at Stanford last year. My father-in-law was present. He's a cardiologist at UCSF. Your father-in-law knows her not directly, but he might have connections. I'm going to call him now Steph. It's 12:45 in the morning. LeBron. If it were my mother, would you hesitate to wake someone up? The chi question hit LeBron directly. No, I wouldn't hesitate. Then let's do this. While Curry made the call, LeBron found himself reflecting on how strange life was, Less than a week before they had played against each other in an exciting game, the media had speculated about which of the two would have the better legacy when they retired. And now here was Curry in the middle of the night calling members of his family to help his biggest rival's mother. Okay, good news and bad news. Curry returned to the line after 15 minutes. My father-in-law knows a colleague who did residency with Dr. Hoffman. He's going to call her tomorrow morning, which would be in a few hours in Switzerland time. And the bad news: the waiting list isn't just about money or even connections. Dr. Hoffman is extremely selective about which cases she accepts. She chooses patients based on a combination of factors: medical viability, potential research impact. And well, she has a thing about inspirational stories. LeBron processed the information. What do you mean by inspirational stories? Apparently, she believes that the patients she chooses should represent something greater than themselves. People whose lives have touched other lives in meaningful ways. Gloria definitely fits that, LeBron said immediately. I know she does, but we're going to need to present her story in a way that makes Dr. Hoffman understand the impact your mother has had, not just on your life, but on the lives of everyone you've inspired because of the sacrifices she made for an hour. The two worked together, compiling information about Gloria Curry suggested, including details about the charity programs LeBron had created, all inspired by the values Gloria had instilled in him, the I Promise School in Akron, which helped children from disadvantaged families, the housing program that had provided homes for families who, like them, once had faced housing instability. Man, do you realize that your mother didn't just raise one of the greatest basketball players of all time? Curry observed. She raised someone who is changing lives every day. That's what we have to make Dr. Hoffman understand at 2:30 in the morning on the West Coast, 5:30 in Ohio. The two had put together a complete dossier about Gloria James. Not just as LeBron's mother, but as an extraordinary woman whose strength and sacrifice had created waves of positive impact in thousands of lives. Now comes the hardest part. Curry said, "What we're going to have to wait," but LeBron wasn't prepared to wait. "Steph, what if this doesn't work? What if we can't do it? Then we'll try something else, and if that doesn't work, we'll try yet another thing, LeBron. Your mother didn't give up when you were a baby and she was scared and alone. We're not going to give up now." There was a long pause, and then LeBron said something he never thought he would say to Steph Curry. "Thank you, brother. Thank you for not letting me face this alone. Don't thank me yet." Curry replied, "We still have a lot of work ahead." "But LeBron, yes. Your mother is going to be okay. She has to be. The world needs more people like her." 6 hours later at 8:30 in the morning in Ohio, LeBron was at the hospital when his phone rang. It was Curry. "We have movement," Curry said, his voice loaded with nervous energy. "My father-in-law managed to speak with Dr. Hoffman." LeBron stepped away from Gloria's room, where she was sleeping peacefully after a difficult night. "And she wants to do a video call with you in 2 hours noon here, 6 o'clock in the evening, there in Switzerland." LeBron's heart accelerated. Is she going to consider her? She's interested. But LeBron, there's a condition. Anything she wants. Gloria to participate in the call too. She wants to personally meet the woman behind the story. LeBron looked through the room door, seeing his mother connected to monitors still weak, but her eyes alert as she watched the morning news. Is she well enough for this? There's only one way to find out. But LeBron. There's one more thing. What the story leaked. LeBron's stomach dropped. What do you mean it leaked? Someone at the hospital spoke to the media. Not about the specific details, but about you being there with your mother. About her being sick. TMZ is already calling, and they'll probably arrive there in a few hours. LeBron closed his eyes, feeling the familiar weight of public life in such a private moment. "But wait," Curry continued quickly. "This might actually help. How the Akron community is already mobilizing. My agent called this morning. Apparently people you don't even know are offering to help former teammates, other NBA players, even some you faced over the years." LeBron walked to the hospital window, looking at the city he always called home down below. He could see a small group of people gathering outside the U Hospital, some holding signs that said, "Praying for Mama Gloria." "And LeBron's mom is our mom too." "There's more," Curry continued. Kevin Durant called this morning. He wants to help Chris Paul, too. Dwayne Wade is flying to Cleveland right now. LeBron felt his throat tighten. Some of these guys were his best friends. Others were rivals. Some even had personal differences with him, but all were uniting when it mattered. Steph and Man, even some of the Warriors reached out to me. Draymond, Clay, even some of the newer guys everyone wants to help. Somehow LeBron had to sit down. The magnitude of the support was overwhelming. But the best part, Curry continued, is that when Dr. Hoffman learned that other athletes were mobilizing when she heard about the community response, she said something that changed everything. What she said, "This is exactly the kind of mother who raises the kind of person we want to help. A woman whose son inspires this kind of loyalty and love from others is a woman who deserves our immediate attention." LeBron felt tears streaming down his face again. But this time they were tears of hope. "She's flying to Cleveland, LeBron. What Dr. Hoffman is taking a private flight this afternoon. She wants to examine Gloria personally before making any recommendation about treatment." LeBron couldn't process what he was hearing. This is real. It's real, man. She said that if Gloria is a suitable candidate for the procedure, she'll do it at the Cleveland Clinic. She's going to bring her team and all the necessary equipment. LeBron had to lean against the wall. Why would she do this? Because Curry said softly, "Sometimes the universe conspires to make the right thing happen, and because your mother raised someone who touches the lives of people she doesn't even know in that moment." LeBron heard a weak but familiar voice behind him. "LeBron, who are you talking to?" He turned and saw Gloria trying to sit up in bed, a small but genuine smile on her face. "It's Steph Curry," Mom, LeBron said. Walking to her, He's helping us." Gloria frowned. "Steph Curry, that boy who always gives you trouble on the court." Curry heard through the phone and laughed. "Tell her that sometimes she gives me trouble too." "Mrs. James," LeBron laughed through the tears. "He said that sometimes you give him trouble too." "Mom." "Well," Gloria said with a strength that surprised everyone, "any friend of my son who is willing to help our family is a son to me too." 3 days later, Dr. Elizabeth Hoffman performed the experimental procedure on Gloria James at the Cleveland Clinic. The surgery lasted 8 hours, but was a complete success. LeBron and Curry waited together in the waiting room, along with Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and a dozen other players who had flown to Cleveland. The Akron community had organized a vigil outside the hospital, with hundreds of people praying and offering support. When Dr. Hoffman finally came out of the operating room, she found a room full of some of the most famous athletes in the world, waiting anxiously for news. The surgery was a success. She announced with a smile, "Gloria is a fighter. She's going to recover completely." When LeBron could finally see his mother after surgery, she was awake and alert despite the medications. "How do you feel, Mom?" he asked, holding her hand. "Lucky," she whispered. "Lucky to have raised a son who has friends like Steph Curry." 6 months later, Gloria James was completely recovered. LeBron and Curry, who had developed a genuine friendship during those difficult days, continued to support each other on and off the court. But the most powerful lesson came from Gloria during an interview she gave after her recovery. "I always taught LeBron that family isn't just about blood," she said. "It's about the people who show up when you need them most, who support you when you're at your worst moment, and who celebrate with you in your best moments." Steph Curry became family during those days, and that's something that will last for the rest of our lives. And when they asked LeBron about how the experience had changed his perspective on rivalry and competition, his answer was simple on the court. "Steph and I will always give our best against each other. But off the court, we understand that some things are more important than any game. My mother taught me that when I was a child, and Steph reminded me of that when I needed it most." The 3 in the morning call that began with tears of despair had transformed into one of the most unlikely and genuine friendships in sports, and all because 2 people understood that in the end, we are all more alike than different, and that true power comes from lifting each other up, especially in the darkest moments. Gloria James didn't just survive, she flourished, knowing she had raised not just a champion, but a man who inspired genuine loyalty and love in others. And sometimes, that's the greatest victory of all.